2009 was Mandela Day. Just yesterday, you'd remember that this week we marked International Day for people living with disabilities. So just yesterday, the staff of the Nelson Mandela Foundation spent the day with people living with disabilities, because our responsibility lies with service. And until such time that we make that core of what we do as a country, we will get lost along the way, because today should be about how do I serve and help build a country that we can all be proud of.
At the first commemoration, in terms of the anniversary of Tata Madiba's passing, we saw activities from the 4th of December all the way into February. What are some of the plans from a foundation perspective over this period?
Well, the first one that we did, you might be aware that just a couple of days ago we hosted Prince Harry and Ms. Graça Machel and the Mandela family. That was the beginning of the mourning period for us on the 3rd. And what we did with that was to remind South Africans that Madiba's legacy is not just South Africa's legacy. It is more global, and that he is shared by all. You'd remember that when he retired, or his third, I think, attempt at retirement, when he announced that it's now in your hands, he did it from London. When he then made that announcement. I think it's important that, and again, Prince Harry himself said it, that we need not just focus on the legacy, making it just about Madiba and ending in South Africa. His legacy touched on education. We need to also be making the quality of education in South Africa to be better as we mark this legacy. So we started with that. Today we'll be at the Market Theatre celebrating the arts. Using Madiba's letters from prison, where we're trying to capture the essence of the man as a father, as a son, the one who couldn't fulfill his duties. And those who would come through to watch this, the play will appreciate what Madiba went through, how he used the cell to reflect. And he said once he came out of prison that one of the things that he missed most was that space to be able to think and to be able to strategize. And that's what we'd be capturing tonight. But at the end of that play, we're saying it's about the future. That's why on the 15th, which is the day that Madiba was buried, we're going to have 3 young people debating about the legacy. As you are aware that Madiba's legacy has come into questioning now of late, and we're saying it's important that that happens. But as we do it, let's be more generous. Because Madiba's legacy is not, he never said it was perfect. He said, I had a duty to fulfill in terms of nation building, but then I hand over everything to you. So if there's any failure, it's us. We need to then be saying, what am I doing to help build that country that we were dreaming of?
That legacy in questioning that you're talking about, I think, is in large part maybe the young people, those born frees that are in many ways disconnected to the history of where we come from, to this democratic South Africa now. Today we've got an exhibition, and that exhibition, and this is the beautiful thing about this exhibition, if you walk through here, it's not actually only about Tata Nelson Mandela. It's an entire movement. It's about entire history.
That's the thing, and we find that most of the assertions that are made by young people, they are based on ignorance. They don't know what South Africa was facing at the time. And I think we need to appreciate what Madiba and his comrades had to do for us to be here today. The context was different. You could lose your life at any given time. Today you can make all noise that you want. You'll never be jailed for your opinions. You'll never be killed just because you thought differently from someone else. And that kind of context is important. And I think that's the thing that we're going to be doing more of next year, where we're going to then be saying to South Africans, what is it that we need to learn about that past? But not for its sake only, but then what kind of future do we want to build? Because young people who are asking these questions, most of them don't know any better. They're asking these questions because they think it's a cool thing sometimes to do. Throw insults, for example. We're saying the level of violence that we have in society, both in terms of our tongues, what we say and what we do, is unacceptable. We need to, as we ask those questions, be respectful too. About that kind of legacy, but not just be respectful of the legacy and look up to it and say it's unquestionable. The man himself said he made mistakes. But then what do we do with those mistakes? Do we continue with those mistakes, or do we build something more beautiful out of it? And that's what we need to be doing more of. So next year, we'll roll out a program with young people, starting on the 15th. And we will, as you said, last year we did it, and we'll keep doing it for the next 12 months, where we will have these dialogues. We'll go to the most rural of places in South Africa to have those dialogues.
Our big question of the day on our program today is, where were you 2 years ago on this day when the first news came out of the passing of Tata Nelson Mandela? I just want you to reflect for me very quickly, and we've asked our viewers to share their thoughts with us. Where were you on this day?
We had been in the office for most of the night, and then I had just driven back home, take a break, and the call came through from Sizinzi, Madiba's daughter, to say Madiba had passed on. So I had to then drive back to the house, to Madiba's house, to then be with the family. And I think the question that I would like viewers to also reflect on is the question that would be asked in the next 20 years. Where were you when Madiba's legacy was thrashed? Where were you when we were not doing more to help build those values that we were talking about at the beginning? And I think that's the question that we should also be asking ourselves.
So we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for talking to me. That's the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Sello Hatang, talking to us about not only reflecting on this day, but also maybe the role that we should play as South Africans going forward. And he's thrown another question in the mix, but our question is today is, where were you on this day when the news first broke of Tata Nelson Mandela's passing? And we've asked you to reflect that on 33726. From us, we go back we're in Johannesburg, where we go back to the studio.